War. It is no stranger to men of faith, who are driven to fight with a fury no king or sultan can inspire. From across the sands and the seas, they fight for the Holy Lands, to ensure the hell that is their lives will grant their passage into heaven.
Hello there everyone, and welcome back to another Total War Battle series. This one is about the Crusade, and I've already done one of these, but this will be the second battle, and we've moved on. I believe last battle was the I said in the video there was the imaginary battle, but there were actually a battle with the First People's Crusade, and they actually were ambushed by the Seljuk Turks and were ambushed and destroyed. Anyways, this is the second one, a video for that battle series, so we moved on to what is the Siege of Nicaea. Let's go in a bit on the backstory of this siege. So, of course, first of all, the People's Crusade moved down because they were impatient and they didn't have time to wait for the knights to get their stuff together. But now that this is about a year afterwards, which they finally got their stuff together, a year after the People's Crusade moved down to Constantinople. So this is about a year afterwards, and now the proper knights have moved down to Constantinople, and they're ready to start their crusade into Saracen lands. Now the emperor of the Byzantine Empire was a bit confused, of course, when he first saw the People's Crusade, and rather than being confused by this army, he was actually not that pleased, because he had hoped that the Pope would send maybe a few thousand knights, maybe 1,000 or something like that, or even less, to have as a sort of specialized force that he could send around and move around with his army. And he wasn't expecting something like this, where you have estimates of maybe 30 to, I've also heard, up to 60,000 soldiers arriving at Constantinople, and these of course are a lot of knights involved with this. And so at first he was kind of skeptical of this, plus also one of the commanders of the forces had actually before this, together with his father, invaded Byzantine territory, so he was quite skeptical of this army, and it was large enough to actually lay siege to Constantinople. So he was a bit worried, so he didn't immediately open the gates for the army, so he kept them outside. And the army also, but at the same time, the Crusader army wasn't, of course, there to fight the Byzantines. They were there to their crusade. They were going to go to Jerusalem. And at the same time, they also realized that if they couldn't really fight with the Byzantines, because they didn't have any supplies. They would have to gather from around the countryside, but eventually that would run out. So they didn't have no choice but to deal with the Byzantines on their terms. So the Byzantine emperor he invites the three most prominent leaders of the Crusader army, which was Godfrey of I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce this, Bouillon. It's somewhere in France at least. We have also Beaumod. Beaumod is probably the right. Bohemond of Taranto, and that's the guy that actually invaded and plundered within the Byzantine Empire before. And we also got Raymond IV of Toulouse. And these guys, I believe, were invited to speak with the emperor. And he basically, the concern that he had was that if they took a city or something, that they wouldn't return it to the empire. So he had them swear an oath of loyalty to him, and so that he sort of became a supreme commander of all of the forces, even though he didn't actually move with them. So anyway, I think we can start here. They're still moving around the troops a bit. So at least so after they've done that, he feels confident enough that he sort of can trust them. So he ferries them across over to what is modern day Turkey. So he ferries them across, and they go for the same target as the People's Crusade would have gone for, which is the sort of it's not that far, well, it's kind of far, but it's not that far on the map. If you look at it, to the city of Nicaea, or the castle of Nicaea, and it was actually the capital of the Seljuk Turks at this time, with the Sultan of Rüm, Kilij Arslan. So it was his capital. Kilij Arslan, of course, is aware of that this army has landed, but for what he knows, that he fought the People's Crusade before this, and he's thinking, oh, it's probably something similar. So he takes his army and moves away and goes to fight other Saracens more up to the east in Turkey, modern day Turkey. So he actually moves his army away, and don't expect these guys to be any threat, because he's expecting something similar to what came with the People's Crusade, which of course is going to come back and bite him in the arse. So the Crusaders arrive and they besiege the town. Now technically I couldn't really find a castle that had a lake next to it, but the proper castle did have a lake at one part of the wall, and the Crusaders were unable to properly siege the lake, as it were, or they weren't able to cut off the supplies that were coming in from the lake into the town. So they had a bit of a problem actually starving the city out. But at the same time, this was kind of a huge army, and the Kilij, or Sultan of Rüm, he had actually left all of his family, and so behind. I believe we're actually going. I believe they're actually starting now. It's going to be a bit hard here because we have two sort of fights going on, and I think we can actually pause there so I can explain why there's two fights. So our forces arrive at the castle and they start to siege it, and the Turks within the castle, of course, realize that this is not the same as the People's Crusade. This is a proper trained army, and this is going to mean quite a lot of problem for them, since there's quite a lot of them out there. So they send messages back to Kilij and begs him to come back, and he of course realized that he's left his family within the walls here, and most of his treasury and so on, so he has to come back, and he does, and he brings a force. It's hard to set the numbers, since it's about all of these things happened about 1,000 years ago, so it's hard to find proper numbers for everything. But he managed to bring about 10,000 men to break the siege. A lot of them being horse archers, since that was the preferred sort of way that the Seljuk Turks fought. And you might wonder why the Crusaders here don't have catapults. and that's because they didn't have big enough catapults, and they couldn't find big enough stones to fire at the castle to properly destroy it. So what instead they did was dig under it and then collapse the wall. Although most of the times the Turks were able to successfully fill the holes after they were made. So it was sort of, they didn't actually manage to ever breach the wall properly. And we can see here, this is one of the problems we had with filming this, that when I was explaining to everyone what kind of units they should have, the guy here, the guy who's playing the second force of French Crusaders, thought that I said that there were no knights for some reason. So he didn't bring any heavy infantry. So he has a lot of these peasant units, and he has a lot of other similar units like this. Here you can see one of the siege towers going up in flame. So he didn't have a lot of these. The heaviest units he had was these armored sergeants, and that was about it. So he's going to take quite a lot of damage here from the second force, or Kilij force. So when we actually played this, I sort of were quite confident. This is my army here, right here, with the knights and so on, and I've got heavy knights with me. So I was pretty confident of winning the infantry fight here against Kilij force, but I was worried about all those peasant, all these horse archers, which he had quite a lot of, and they didn't went for my army, which sort of gave me the chance to move around my cavalry later on and strike them in the back. But the problem is, I was concentrating over here, and while I was fighting over here, all of these were riding around shooting at these light armored units, which lost quite a lot of soldiers, which is gonna take an effect later on, since he's actually going to fail to take the castle. Now, in the real siege, the Crusaders didn't actually take the castle. They were never successful in breaching the walls and forcing the town to surrender. Instead, what happened was, on the lake, which I talked about earlier, that were connected with the castle, the Turks were able to send in supplies. But at one point during the siege, the forces of the Byzantine Empire arrived, around 2,000 of them, and they bring boats with them. And so they set up a blockade of the lake. But what they also do is that the Emperor mistrusts the French Crusaders, that they won't actually relinquish the town back to him once they've taken it. So they go in with
the battering ram has done its work. Now it is time for brave hearts and brave deeds.
Looks as though he's managed to break through there, but at the same time we can see all these horse archers are firing. You can see all these dead guys everywhere, just because he has so many of these light units. I'm actually surprised after looking at this that it didn't actually go any worse, because all of these horse archers could have easily displaced all of these troops, having them running all over the place and having a hard time focusing on what they're supposed to do. At the same time, the guy who spawned within the castle actually have a lot of these light cavalry, so together all those cavalrymen could probably have easily swept away all the light troops of this second force. So that could have gone really badly. I should probably have, since at the actual battle they didn't the troops inside probably didn't have this amount of cavalry force. We have, I believe it's 5 units of 80 light cavalry in each, so that's quite a lot of cavalry, and they probably didn't possess that much cavalry. Much of the cavalry would have gone with Kilij Arslan. Anyways, go back and start it. So as I was saying, they brought boats and they put them on the lake, and what they did was they sent in secret emissaries to the Turks, and they said, okay, we've got, you see all these Franks, or these the Saracens, called same way as the Europeans called all the Turks for Saracens, all the Turks or all the Muslims called all Europeans for Franks. So we can see I've sort of missed this charge, which is going to take heavily on my knights, but I'm able to salvage the situation by the fact that I have a lot more cavalry, so I can swing in around him. But anyways, they send these secret emissaries, and they tell the Turks that, yeah, you see all those 30,000 Franks out there, if they get into the town, they're gonna slaughter you, and they're gonna kill everything and burn the entire town, the entire town down. So if you go ahead and surrender to us, we'll let you live, and we'll let you take your stuff and basically leave the castle, and we'll leave the populace alone. And the Turks at that point had lost this battle. Kilij's 10,000 men had not been able to relieve the castle, so the forces inside the castle agreed to this. They agreed to surrender to the Turks. I mean the Byzantines. The Turks, they go ahead and surrender to the Byzantines, and the next morning the Byzantine flags are flying in every tower at Nicaea.
Sunny, our men have captured the enemy general. Guard him well and make it so he can see us defeat the rest of his army.
He's basically lost this fight, and all of these men are gonna rout. They don't really stand a chance against the highly armored Europeans, since at the early period in Total War, these guys, you can see mass rout. I think I captured somewhere around 700 soldiers in that. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on over here. So he still has a bit of a force, but it's not going very well for him. A lot of his men are routing.
The enemy is badly blotted. They have lost half their men.
So at this point it sort of looks okay. It's gone 50-50, but you can see there's a lot of units here spread out, and all his light troops, they're not able to effectively attack the walls. Plus he's sort of inefficiently moving his troops around, leaving crossbowmen open for cavalry charges and so on. And you can see troops standing a bit here and there, not cohesively attacking the castle. And since I'm all the way over here, it's going to take quite a while before I am able to come back and help on the siege. But as I said, the castle surrendered to the Byzantines, fearing that they would be slaughtered by the Franks or the Europeans if they took the town. And of course, for the Europeans, which had hoped to get in there, because Partly they of course went because they wanted to serve the Holy Cross and recapture Jerusalem for Christendom. But there were also, at this time, this sort of area where a large amount of trade went through here, and also this area was a lot richer than Western Europe at the time. So there was a lot of plunder to be had, as it were, and that's why a lot of them went here. So it's a win-win for everyone. You get your all your sins are washed away, and you get the ability to still fight and plunder, but against these which they probably not even considered proper, more call them barbarians as Saracens, since they
the
were
battle is very
following,
much in our favor. If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours.
So yeah, at this point it looks pretty good, although most of these lighter forces are being massacred on the walls, and they're not being properly used to siege the castle, which is gonna in the end turn out to destroy this army. And I'm not gonna have enough, even though I have knights and so on. My knights have been fighting over here and destroyed an equal size army, or even though we won quite readily at this place, I've still lost a few men, and they're tired and so on, and they've been damaged. So, and I'm not going to be able to come back in time to actually save this attacking force. But as it were, in the historical one, they didn't actually.
Our men have slain the Saracen general. Now we must send these men running back to the desert.
So even though we actually took out both of the generals, I captured the general who came with the relief army and the one that was in the castle. In medieval, losing your general, it doesn't mean that much. I don't even sure if it means anything. It might mean something if it's a very strong general and so on, or if your troops are really crap. But it doesn't mean that much as it would in maybe in the later ones. So the fight is going on, and at this point there is an advantage for us, but we're of course still trying to attack the walls, and the walls haven't been successfully captured by our troops yet. So at this point it's not looking very good. Well, it's sort of 50-50 at this point, but it could have gone a lot better if he hadn't misheard me, and he would have taken a few knights with him, so he could have protected his crossbowmen, because you can see the missile troops that still are alive, they're wreaking havoc behind his lines, and also he's got all of these guys not doing anything over there, and they're mopping up everyone routing, so they're not coming back. They're all being captured by these horsemen, and my army is still quite far away, so it won't arrive in time. So, as I was saying, the Byzantines, of course, were able to capture the castle by striking that deal with the inhabitants of the castle, and the Crusaders weren't too happy about it, because they were hoping to go into the castle and loot it, and there were even if they they weren't even allowed into the castle after it was captured. They were only allowed in small groups, in the fear of that they might start looting. So the Crusaders weren't too happy about that, because they were of course hoping to cash in on the riches. And now the second Crusader army here that was supposed to attack the castle, that it lost a general, and it sort of symbolized their defeat here. They're not able to successfully siege the castle. What was I saying? Yes, they felt betrayed. So in their eyes now, the Crusaders felt that they were on their own now, and that's precisely what they wanted as well. So they're not gonna fight for the Byzantines anymore. They're not gonna help them. They're gonna make their own thing. And as you see later on, they're gonna create their own kingdoms within the Holy Lands. So at this point, these light cavalry go out, but they, in my opinion, they went out a bit late. They could have probably gone in a lot earlier. They go in here facing my troops for a bit, but as you can see, they lost quite heavily against that.
The battle is very much in our favor. If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours!
And at this point, the secondary army is completely destroyed, so it's totally down to me now to attack the castle. Historically, or strictly out of a military point, you wouldn't probably continue on with this attack. I probably wouldn't have done that. I would probably continue to siege it out, but that's not very fun to look at. So I went ahead and hoping that I had enough men to actually be able to siege the castle out and capture
Our men
it.
are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
And with my advisor saying that we're likely to win, I felt that I could continue on and take the castle. You can see here the massacre that's occurred of all these light troops that didn't stand a chance, with all these arrows coming down. There's so many of them lying spread here across the field. On the unprotected crossbowmen, lying heaps. But now I'm coming in and I've got my proper feudal knights and armored sergeants. Hopefully that will be enough to win the day. So starting there to moving up on the unprotected part here, which we are able to move on unopposed, and then move in and attack this wall right here.
The battle is very much in our favor. If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours!
But as you can see, even though I've got all those knights and stuff, there's still a lot of these different, although these remains are that much, but you see all these light horsemen still got some
Our allies have fled the field like cowards! We must look to our own men now.
Still have fresh units stationed down here. Quite a few archers here and there. And we of course have these guys still running about, running down anyone who's trying to flee from the siege. Holy crap, you can all so many of these fanatics lying dead. There's quite a lot of arrows going in there, crossbow bolts. But it's a slow fight here on the wall, and my guys are beginning to be very tired, plus they're being hit by the spear tower, the arrow towers, and it's sort of starting to even out where we're actually lost more soldiers than the enemy. And at this point I can't really use my superior cavalry, because the gateway in, even though it's open, it's protected by spearmen, and I'm not being able to send in enough troops to fight it out there. I should probably have spread out my armored sergeants and so on, spread them out a bit more earlier, and march up a bit here and there and try to completely clean the walls off, because I leave quite a few archer units here, and when I realize that they're pretty unprotected over here, it's basically too late. So I'm sending up as many knights here as I can, as I'm realizing that these guys are getting tired, and some of them are actually writing out.
The ladders are now in place. Walls are no match for valor and force of arms.
My crossbowmen aren't doing that well either. They're probably hitting just as many of my own as of the enemy. And I'm not sure if you could hear it there, but I think he has a few Nafatoon that throw these fire bombs as well. So he's able to burn quite a few of my knights.
Seigneur, only half of our force remains.
So at this point we've lost 82% of our overall force, while the enemy has lost 71. So it's beginning to turn into favoring the enemy rather than favoring us, the Crusaders.
Only half the enemy force remains.
And there's still quite a lot of them, and although some of them have been fighting for quite some time, a lot of them are pretty fresh, and also repeated cavalry charges, which are going to come in later on, is going to be enough to turn the tide, and my guys simply can't fight against that. So the Crusaders are actually going to lose this battle. I'm not entirely sure how long I've been recording for now, but it's been quite a while. Hopefully the video won't be too super long. And I guess it would be quite easy for me to blame the second commander for failing at choosing proper troops. And here you can see the cavalry charges I was talking about. I could easily have blamed him for the loss of this battle, but if I had stopped the cavalry from moving in and attacking his troops, he would probably have quite a few more men to throw at the walls. So at this point the enemy is so bold that they actually charge out of the castle.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Although it's gonna hurt them, and I'm gonna be able to mop up quite a few of them as they're routing. All in all, I capture around, I think it's 1,000 enemies that I capture. We'll probably see. Hopefully, they will actually show the battle statistics in the end of this, so we'll be able to see how, and study the statistics of this battle. So at this point, you can see that there's quite a high mortality rate in this battle, with 88% of our troops, with 83 of the enemies being killed. And so I'm back. Bit of someone I was at just calling me, so I had to cut it right there. But anyways, and now it's sort of down to the meat grinder to decide who's gonna win.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy. Our foes appear to be gaining the upper hand in this battle.
And there we go. The constant charges into the.
Pray something changes in the course of battle.
The troops
defeat seems almost certain.
Have caused them to rout. And I've lost basically all my melee infantry. So I am, at this point, it was quite clear to me that I've lost. And you could see a quite quick change there in the power meter. And also you can see here the missile cavalry is coming back to haunt me, and they're gonna rout most of my unprotected crossbowmen, which are very tired and not able to protect themselves properly. But the battle is not yet over. We're gonna have my general being the last one to break, I think. Well, he's not actually gonna break, he's gonna fight to the very end. But he's gonna fight against a complete horde. Here they come. A complete horde of these light cavalry gonna charge out. And he's gonna stand no chance against that kind of overpowering amount of troops. And here they come. And now he goes in for the counter charge.
sanctioned by Almighty God, or a military genius can bring us victory from this debacle. Our foolish general has thrown his life away, and perhaps our chances of victory with it. Our army is tiring.
They're more than tired, I can tell you that. Unless they're all sleeping. You can just see the masses of troops
The
dead
defeat is a
everywhere.
bitter drop to swallow. Next time, it will be our foe that sups from this most foul cup.
And here we go. Let's see here. So we had about... The Crusaders had about, what? Somewhere around 5,000 men. Compared with about 4,000 Turks. The quite heavy losses here on the Crusaders side. Same for the Turks, but they still remained in quite a high number compared to us. Most enemies killed goes to the actual defender of the town, and much of it must have been just all of those light troops being slaughtered. And then we can see over there, next in line would be me, just coming ahead just a bit above the secondary army, or the army that starts outside. And then in last place we have the army that attacked the castle. Only managed to kill 959 men, even though they deployed almost 3,000 men. Go in here and check who killed the most. You can't actually click like that, but I'm looking here and it looks as though most is going down to one of my dismounted feudal knights and mailed knights as well. Killed quite a few. Most prisoners goes. One of the mailed knights captured 378 people. And we're looking here at the friendly units here, and casualties inflicted are quite few. We've got most of them going around 80-70 units, a few going as low as 722. So it's not, they didn't do very well. And you can see here then where the peasants come in. This one didn't kill a single guy, this one killed one, and quite low numbers there. Although the peasants were probably mostly used to bring out the ladders. Anyways, this was the siege, and sort of siege and battle of Nicaea. I hope you enjoyed it. Next up is the battle of, I can't exactly recall what it's called. It had one of those quite hard to pronounce name, but it's going to be a battle, and then we're going to go on and have a few sieges, and eventually we're going to reach Jerusalem. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this battle, and I will see you for the next one. Bye.